What's up, guys? Welcome to Comic Chronicles. Daredevil, Born Again finally dropped on Disney+, and it really honors what Daredevil was on Netflix, but takes it a step further. Is this first episode really everything they're talking about? Is it worth watching? What are the comic references? Stick around in this video to find out everything, and don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Do you like Daredevil? Want to see more Daredevil videos on the channel? Let me know in the comments. I'm watching. Daredevil, Born Again is a fresh start but also leans into nostalgia. Remember how the third season of Daredevil ended? Bullseye was defeated, and Daredevil threatened Fisk about going after Vanessa if Fisk did anything to him or his friends. That's why Wilson Fisk didn't reveal Daredevil's identity or hurt Foggy Nelson and Karen Page. Born Again kicked off incredibly. The city vibe, the colors, the lights, the soundtrack, everything is just so good in this beginning. The show opens with Matt, Foggy, and Karen happy, and that moment is just awesome. It's great to see these three together again after all these years. They head to their favorite bar, Josie's, where they're throwing a farewell party for their buddy Cherry, who's retiring. Foggy's flirting with Kirsten McDuffie, and in the comics, she was friends with Matt and even dated him. At this point in the episode, Karen shows that she wants something with Matt, but he makes it clear they're just friends now, and it's not gonna work out. Meanwhile, Cherry's arguing with the detective about the vigilantes in the city. The whole vigilante discussion eventually leads Fisk to become the mayor of New York. The public is split between those who accept vigilantes and those who don't want them in the city. It's interesting to see this debate, especially after the Sokovia Accords in Captain America: Civil War. There are still folks who don't trust vigilantes. Now, back to Matt, Karen, and Foggy. The start of the series shows the three really had happy moments after the third season's end, but then, everything changes because Foggy Nelson loses his life to Bullseye. Everything flips after the Bullseye attack. While the show had a happy vibe at first, it all changes from here, and that also ends up completely transforming Matt Murdock's life. This is where the show shifts gears and takes us to a tense moment, where Matt hears Foggy picking up a call. Then we see Daredevil swinging between the buildings and striking that heroic pose with a church in the background. This shot is actually a nod to the cover of the Daredevil, Born Again comic by Frank Miller, and even the church's stained glass is reminiscent of David Mazzucchelli's artwork. It was spine-tingling. It was amazing to see Daredevil running, jumping, and using his baton to swing through the buildings, just like in the comics. Epic! Daredevil tries to get to Bullseye, but he panics when he realizes Foggy is his target. What's unclear at this moment is Bullseye's motivation. Was it revenge, or did someone hire him for this? He wasn't just gunning for Foggy, he had Karen in his sights too, so it leaves us wondering if it was revenge or if Wilson Fisk was pulling strings. Now, jumping into the fight between Daredevil and Bullseye, let me just say, it was epic. Easily one of the best fight scenes in the MCU. It was surreal. They took what Netflix's series nailed with those long takes and cranked it up to 11. It felt like I was reading a page straight out of a comic book. Foggy Nelson's death was really sad and definitely hits hard for anyone who's been following the series since the early seasons. That death was just heartbreaking and even references the comics, where Foggy dies after visiting Matt in prison. In fact, in the following issue, during Foggy's funeral, Matt was there, in handcuffs. Now, moving on to Bullseye, he survived the fall after Daredevil threw him off a building. This might be because, at the end of Season 3, he had special metal implanted in his bones. In the comics, Bullseye has adamantium in some of his bones, and he's actually survived jumping off buildings before. So yeah, that's probably why he made it out alive. Another interesting detail in this series is Kingpin and his current situation as the new mayor of New York. In Season 3 of Daredevil, he was locked up, but then he escaped, and following his MCU appearances, he showed up in Hawkeye as Maya's mentor, where he took a bullet. After that, in Echo, Maya had him relive all the hatred he felt, leaving Fisk completely rattled. After all that, Wilson Fisk is now the mayor of New York and has declared war on the vigilantes. He mentioned Daredevil, Punisher, and even Spider-Man, which could hint at the absence of heroes in the Thunderbolts trailer when they say the Avengers won't be showing up. For sure, Fisk is gonna hunt down any hero in New York, and it's gonna be wild. This hunt of Fisk for heroes happened in the comics too, where he even used the Thunderbolts to track them down. This all went down in the Devil's Reign saga. Born Again is a title that references the comic of the same name, but this show adapts several other story arcs from the comics as well. On top of all that, have you caught any Spider-Man references in this series other than Kingpin's mention? That reference is in the scene where Matt's having coffee with Dr. Glenn. Matt mentions he visited Queens, Spider-Man's neighborhood, but when he says why he went there, he mentions a restaurant. If you think about that scene, it makes sense that Matt might not remember Peter Parker due to Doctor Strange's spell. So it's super likely that Matt only recalls dining at that restaurant in Queens because of that. Now in the second episode, Hector Ayala, the White Tiger, showed up and ended up getting arrested by corrupt cops. This is where we see the whole vigilante discussion escalating even further, because it's pretty obvious that someone's gonna tell the jury he's a vigilante, and that'll motivate Fisk to amp up his hunt for heroes. For those who don't know who White Tiger is, basically, he's Hector Ayala from San Juan, Puerto Rico. When he moved to New York for school, he found a tiger amulet that granted him powers. That's why during the episode, he mentions he wasn't wearing his amulet, so he didn't have his powers. Plus, the fact that Matt defends Hector mirrors the comics, where Hector was also wrongly accused of killing a cop. If the show stays true to the comics, Hector's gonna have a tragic ending. Also, there's an intriguing moment in the conversation between Matt and Hector. Hector reveals that people are going missing and nobody seems to care, and that'll probably lead to Muse, the villain confirmed to be in the series, who also showed up in the trailer. Speaking of Muse, he's already been seen getting an autograph from Dr. Glenn. In the comics, Dr. Glenn had a romance with Daredevil but ended up being a victim of Jessica Jones' villain, Kilgrave. Here in Born Again, it's possible she'll end up being a victim of Muse, which might draw Matt into this case. Meanwhile, Punisher hasn't appeared yet, but he's been mentioned, and we'll definitely see him making waves in Born Again soon. Guys, the first 2 episodes of Daredevil, Born Again are super solid, I'm giving them a 10. Now, I want to know your thoughts. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score do you give Daredevil, Born Again? Did you enjoy seeing Charlie Cox return as Daredevil, but now in the MCU? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like on the video, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell because I'm gonna bring reviews of the upcoming episodes so you're in the loop with every detail and comic reference. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thanks for hanging out with me in this video, catch you next time.